I did some work on my van yesterday and it has changed things immensely. This feels like a totally different van. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Scott and I have been living out of this 2013 Toyota Sienna minivan for the last 6 months. And I've been slowly building it out to try to make it to be as comfortable as it can for me. One of the big things that I have needed to get to, I finally have started, and is putting the shelf in. I've needed more storage. That's the one thing that I have not tackled yet so much in my build out. So this is the first start of the storage that I have planned on this side of the wall of the van. Still needs some tweaking, and there's some things that I like about it and don't like about it. I only got this done yesterday, so this is brand new. But I think today I want to just spend a little bit of time just puttering around the van, maybe adding a little bit to the shelf, maybe moving it around a little bit. But first, coffee. I really should just put the kettle on and make a cup of coffee for myself, but I've got a couple of reasons to go to a new coffee shop that I found yesterday. One, it is very good. I went there for the first time yesterday and liked it so much I want to go back today, but also I am tired. It took me all day to work on the shelf here. There was a lot going on with the build of that shelf, even though it's pretty simple. I had a lot to move in and out of the van, so I'm just tuckered out. So I'm going to treat myself to another cup of premium coffee here at a new coffee shop, that at least new to me, where I am today. We are in Crescent City, which is way up in the northern part of California, right on the coast, and we're just a few miles south of the border of the state of Oregon, and it's a beautiful area around here. Came out here to work on the van a little bit, and it's been nice being back here. When I pulled up here, I was worried that they weren't open. Thought maybe they were closed today, but I just outed myself as what I did. I was so tired that I slept in today, so it's like 1:30 in the afternoon. I've been up for a little while, but I've been moving kind of slowly. I actually woke up wide awake at 7 o'clock, but my back was so sore. My back and my knees are so sore that I just didn't want to get up, so I fell back asleep for another couple of hours, I guess. But yeah, so I'm finally getting up and around at 1:30 in the afternoon. Now you know, and maybe I would have gotten away with it if there were cars in the parking lot and it actually looked like the place was open when I pulled up. Very good coffee, by the way. Very, very good. Oh, I might have forgot to say the name of this place. This is Paragon Coffee House, and they're on 3rd here in downtown Crescent City. Crescent City is a pretty tiny town, so if you do come here, you'll probably find them easily, but there are not a lot of coffee places here, so I'm happy to find them. Apparently they've been open a couple of years. I just have found them this trip. Somehow they've escaped my attention, but I am happy that I have found them now. Anyway, we are on our way over to Home Depot, and so I can putter around a little bit with that shelf. I think I might make some adjustments to it. So I can show you how I put it together if you're interested. And maybe, if I can get a little gumption, I'll fix it up a little bit, because I've got some ideas. Even though it's only a day old, I have some ideas of how it could be better. I always think of Home Depot as kind of my garage, because whenever I have a van project, I usually go to the nearest Home Depot and do my work. In case I need to get something, I can run in and go buy it. This location is pretty cool because right across the street is a Harbor Freight. So if there's something that Harbor Freight has that is cheaper than Home Depot, it's easy just to run across the street and get it. But I think all I need, I should have, although I might need a little bit more wood if I am going to extend the shelf out. I don't think I explained that yet. Let me show you the shelf. So the shelf here is just a pine board, and I've attached it to the van with some Unistrut. That Unistrut is galvanized steel, so it's good for damp locations. Basically, it's always damp around here. This is the Pacific Northwest that we're in. I did have to get a little bit creative on getting the pine board attached to the Unistrut. I'll show you that in a minute. But I've got a couple of rails that I've run along the side of the van, and I'm utilizing the seat belt mounts. So I just took the seat belts out and used those same bolts to bolt in the Unistrut. It seemed to work quite well. I did have to add another bolt attachment point in the back because there wasn't one back there, so I bought a small tool to add a rivet nut. So it's held with a rivet nut in back, and then the seat belt bolts in front here. And then over here on this side, which would be the front of the van, I've got a little bit more of that Unistrut that runs up high here, and then I put a support leg down. It's held on with the grab handle here. I just got a bungee cord around it to give it some structure up top, and then I've attached it to my bed up at the bottom. So it's pretty good and strong, although the only reason that this is here is to give me a hanging space. I've been wearing these button-down shirts more lately, and so I've needed a place to hang them, and this is something I've been wanting to do for the last couple of years now. So I'm happy to have it. It seems to be working pretty well. I've also got a place to put my rain jacket because I haven't had a good place for that. Normally just bunch the rain jacket up and stuff it in a corner somewhere and then have to find it when I need it. So this is better having it out here, and hopefully my shirts won't be all wrinkled as much as they have been. I don't iron anything, so I take them out of the dryer, hang them up. That's all I do to them. So this is probably better all the way around. But this is working pretty good. The one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get this set up and just try to get a feel for it. My original idea was to get a board that ran here to the end of this piece of Unistrut and run that shelf all the way down. Then I thought, let's hang on a little bit and just kind of live with the shorter shelf. And I think I've already got an inkling that this shelf is not going to be quite long enough, and I do want to make some changes to it. So that's why we're back here to putter around. The benefit to me to using Unistrut in this application is that it's really versatile. I don't really have to make any set decisions on where the shelf is going to go, and I can easily move it around or change it up just by undoing the bolts and sliding things around. The way this Unistrut works is they use these little nuts. These little nuts go into the slot of the Unistrut. You just put them in there and then put a bolt through, and then you can attach anything that you want that way. It's pretty simple. It seems a little complicated maybe until you kind of look over the pieces. There's very few pieces. It's basically just the Unistrut itself, and at Home Depot they sell it in 10-foot long pieces. It is a little difficult to cut. I use a angle grinder to cut it. I actually came here to Home Depot thinking that I was going to buy another piece of this Unistrut because I wanted to do this setup a little bit differently. Unfortunately, the layout of the van kind of made me change my plans up a little bit. This particular van has a rear air conditioner, and it sits in the back corner here, and so I had to change how I was planning on attaching the Unistrut to the shell of the van. That wasn't the best thing. Kind of put me back a few days trying to figure out how I was going to do it, but then I realized that I could buy one of those rivet nut install tools. I bought it at Harbor Freight. Not the best quality tool. If you're looking for a rivet nut tool, probably spend the money and get one from somebody other than Harbor Freight, but I really only needed to use one or two of them, and so it worked fine for me. I doubt the tool's going to last very long, but it did the job, and as you can see, this is pretty strong. In fact, I've got my this is a microphone arm, but I actually use it for both a microphone and as a cell phone holder, because I can kind of put my cell phone up around, keep it away from my stove, and watch YouTube, which is something I do quite a bit. But even with this fully extended, it's got plenty of strength here. It's a little bit of bounce here to it, but plenty of strength here with this. But what I think I'm going to do is I think I want it to just undo these, loosen up these nuts and slide this shelf down, because this morning, getting ready, sitting at my little bathroom area back here, it was just a little bit too tight back here, so I think I want a little bit more room. So that's where we're going to start. The only thing is, got to take all this stuff down first. So I guess another sip or two of coffee, and then I got to start moving stuff, which is what I did all day yesterday. I've got some bad news here. I'm out of coffee. It was good while it lasted. It's an interesting place that I went to there. They seem to have just one size. So when you order, you just order whatever you want. So a latte, that's it. It just comes in one size. Seems like that's what it was across the board on all of their coffee drinks. I've heard of that as being a thing that cafes do. I just haven't seen it a whole lot. When I was there yesterday, I got a latte, and then I actually bought some beans from them. That's another interesting place thing about this place is they use beans from Oregon. So this is from a small company called Noble out of Ashland, Oregon. I've heard of them. I don't think I've ever had them before, but I did buy a bag just because I thought, give them a try. So maybe I'll get into this later today, because that coffee was very good. It's just not enough coffee for me, a little small. Now I need to get to this, and I can actually show you how this is set up here. Because of the way the Unistrut is attached to the wall of the van, it's not quite level or plumb. And so to kind of make the shelf not dip down and have everything just kind of fall off of it, I went with these fittings that I bought, or these, I don't know what to call these. These are mounts, I guess. These are intended for solar panel mounts, so that you can mount your panel and adjust for the angle of a roof, whether that's a house or a vehicle. I ordered these, and then when I got them in my hands, I wasn't quite so sure I wanted to use them for my solar panels. They just, I don't know, there's something about them that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. But I will say that they are very strong. I just think that they're maybe not quite, in my mind looking at these, they're not maybe quite as strong as they could be for mounting solar panels on the roof of a vehicle or a house. But I think that they're more than adequate for a tiny little shelf here. So that's why I went ahead and used these. And I'm glad I kept them. I thought about sending them back, and then I took another thought and said, these could be useful for something else, and they definitely are. So the two of them are holding up the shelf quite nicely, and then I do have two more that came in the kit. So I can add another shelf, which is something I'm looking at here today. But first I'm gonna undo this. Oh, let's see, I need my tools. I just need to loosen up the bolts on this, and then I can slide this down. Oh, I forgot though. This thing I didn't have a place for, so I just zip tied it up here just to get it out of my way last night. It was short-lived zip ties, but it worked for what I needed it to for a day. In my last van, I built a much stronger, beefier shelf system over here. And well, let's see, I'm gonna have to take this one right out, I guess, because I've got another bolt I've got to go around. The other one can slide, so it'll just take me a second longer, I guess. So I built it a lot heavier and beefier, and over the years I realized that it just was overbuilt. And so with this van, I thought I just need to just make this a little bit more simple, because I don't have a lot of weight. I've got a lot of bulky stuff that goes on this shelf, but it's not a whole lot of weight. And so that's why I kind of changed it up to this. And I think this is going to work out a whole lot better. There's no real reason for me to have such a heavy duty shelf like I did in the old van. Is that where I want it? I'm going to have to figure that out a little bit. I've got a little bit of adjustment I can do on these. Okay, I think this is where I want this. I had pulled this shelf all the way down to the end of the Unistrut, and then I thought, you know what? It seems like it's kind of towering over top of me. I laid down, and it feels like the shelf is just over top of me. So I just backed it off a little bit, so I'm not kind of sleeping right under the shelf, although I probably could. That was one of the things that I changed with this shelf design versus my last van. My last van was very low to my bed, and at times I would bump into it. And so I wanted to make this shelf as tall off of my bed as possible while still giving me plenty of room up here. So that was kind of where I had determined this size. I want to be able to fit these bags up here, which they do. You know, a little tight, but they do. These are kind of oversized grocery bags, but they fit up there nicely. And I've got plenty of room between the shelf and the bed. You know, that's just one of those things you kind of have to figure out yourself. And that was something that I was kind of irritated with my last van. It was just not enough room for me personally. So this is much better. So I think I'll leave it here for now. The nice thing about this is, if I don't like this, if this isn't working out, I just loosen the bolts up and slide it around a little bit more later on. You know, the hardest part of this is just moving the stuff on and off of the shelf. That's it. So I will get the stuff put back up on here, and then the next thing I want to do is think about adding another shelf, a little shelf, not nearly as wide. This shelf is 8 inches, and it's about, I think about, depends on where you measure, but like right here it's about 10 inches of depth. So if I add another little shelf off of the Unistrut and just drop it down under maybe like a 4 or 5 inch shelf, that'll give me quite a bit more usable storage space, because I am living out of a minivan, so I got to maximize the storage as much as possible, right? Okay, I've got everything back up here for now. I did find a little problem. It is sagging a little bit here. Let me take this down and I can show you. This Unistrut that I'm using is the smaller of the two normally available Unistruts. So it's a thinner gauge metal and a smaller dimension. So that means it's not great for lots of weight that's hanging off of it. And since I moved the shelf down here, it kind of changed the pivot area of where it's pulling off of this main structural piece. So what I'm going to have to do is just add in a little L bracket here, and that should strengthen it up and get rid of that sag. I've just got a lot of weight here, especially with this microphone arm and all that. It's just a little bit more weight for the thin gauge of the Unistrut that I'm using, but I'll go into Home Depot and just buy a little L bracket and fix that. But first, no, not coffee. You thought I was going to say coffee, but I need to eat some food. So I'm just going to make a little quick egg and bean and cheese burrito, I think. Then we'll go into Home Depot. I'll buy a little L bracket, fix that, pretty easy fix. But I got to eat something or I'll probably pass out by the time I get into Home Depot. I don't know if I mentioned it, but yesterday the big job was not the shelf. I came over here to get my bed sorted out. I actually had to unload almost everything in the back of the van here and take the bed out, chop the legs down on the back end of it because it wasn't quite level. These Toyotas have a higher back than they do the front. It kind of slopes down towards the front of the van, the floor does. So I've been meaning to fix that. It's just I've been putting it off because I didn't want to have to deal with taking everything out, moving everything out. It was a lot of stuff. I put as much stuff up in the cab as I possibly could, just in case I needed to run into Home Depot and buy something. But as it turned out, it was pretty easy. It was just a lot of moving. And then once I got the bed outside, I was able to easily just cut the feet and reattach the feet that I have. They're plumbing fittings that I'm using for feet on this. So the feet are about 1.5 inches shorter on the back side of the bed as they are on the front side of the bed. And it's just about perfectly level. Of course, I've never actually parked in a level spot, but you know, the bed is just about perfectly level when I do happen to park on a level spot on occasion. I'm getting these dishes washed, and then I'll go into Home Depot and hopefully remember to buy everything that I need. I should probably make a list. Getting forgetful these days. I think I actually forgot to tell you about the carpet that I bought for this. This is that kind of cheap indoor-outdoor polyester carpet, and they sell it in a square that's rolled up. I think it's a 6 foot by 9 foot square, and I intended to go buy one of those. I got over to it, and they're $25 for that square of carpet, and I thought, well, that's ridiculous. I only need a little strip of carpet to cover the shelf, maybe a little bit more to cover the second shelf when I get around to putting that in. So I went and found a lady that worked there, and I asked her, I said, is there a minimum of carpet that you can sell if I want to buy it off of the roll? And she didn't say yes, she didn't say no. She said, I'll make it work, which I thought was kind of funny. She just kind of didn't answer that. And I told her I just need a foot. I think it actually came out a little bit longer than a foot because I was actually able to wrap this 8-inch board around. So I've got a nice edge that's totally wrapped around with carpet. So it worked out pretty good. And because it was only, a little over a yard, it was a fraction of the $25 price. And, since I don't really need any more, I didn't have to worry about trying to store it or trying to throw it out. That was what she had told me. She said, it's great stuff. It's useful for all kinds of things. And I said, I live in a van. And she said, well, you could use it for all kinds of things. And I said, I live in a minivan. I don't have any space for it. And she said, oh, I see, So then she said, well, you're just going to have to find a place to throw it out, throw out the rest that you don't need. And I didn't like the idea of that, which she didn't think that was a good idea either. She was just trying to be helpful, So it was pretty nice of her to cut me a tiny little piece. Of course, I've got quite a bit extra because it's a 12-foot long roll that they take the carpet off of and cut whatever you want. So I've got plenty for the other shelf, and I've still got some that I will either have to store away somewhere or throw away, but very little by the time I get the other shelf done. Let's go on in to Home Depot and try not to forget the things I need to buy. Well, I got halfway over to the store there and thought I'm too tired to do this. So I just bought the L bracket that I needed, so we'll strengthen up the shelf. And I'm not going to worry about doing the other shelf. I can buy another piece of wood at any time. So we'll just get this done. Yesterday was a big day, so I'm just beat. So I'm going to do this and call it good today. I really should bolt this L bracket in place, but I just don't feel like it right now. So I may have to come back and bolt it in later. But I think this will work. I'm just using some little wood screws. So I'm screwing in some wood screws, big fat wood screws from the bottom. And then now I'm just going to put the bolt into the nut that slots into the Unistrut here. And that should tighten this up and get rid of that little sag. This is easier than I'm making it look. It's just, I'm tired. I probably mentioned that already. Now I'm getting grumpy, to be honest. Okay, I think I've got it. This would go a lot easier if I had a 11mm socket instead of just a box end wrench here, but I don't have a 11mm socket, and I don't know why, because I need it quite often. I'm going to have to fix that at some point, but okay, I think this has done it, and it has fixed the sag, I think. Let's see what this looks like once I get all the weight back on here. Yeah, that's much better. It's not going to be perfect. This thing isn't meant for a ton of weight. I don't have a lot of weight on here, but yeah, that's much better. I don't think it would have worked very well without that extra support. So that's good news. I can put the tools away. And then it's coffee time, I guess. Or nap time. It's probably going to be nap time. So I decided to do both coffee and a nap. So coffee first, of course, and then I'll get to the nap later. I wanted to get into this bag of coffee that I bought from the coffee shop here, this Noble Coffee Roasting, because I was curious about it. The lattes that I've had from the coffee shop here, Paragon Coffee Shop, right, were great. They were fantastic, but you know, lattes are mostly milk with a little bit of coffee in them. So I couldn't quite tell what the roast level was going to be on this. And unfortunately, this is a darker roasted coffee than I would like. I like light roast coffee. That's what I almost exclusively buy. Occasionally I'll buy something that's a little more medium roast, but this is pretty dark. And it's not the darkest roasted coffee I've ever seen, but it's a little darker than I would like. So, not too happy about that, but I haven't tasted it yet, so maybe it'll be okay. It's just, I just find it funny that companies don't put a roast level on their bag. This company's got lots of information here. It has flavor notes, it has where the coffee is grown, how it's processed, and the roasted on date. So that's all great, but just put the roast level on the bag, please, Noble. Just, you know, if it's expensive coffee, I would like to know that before I go into it. But in contrast here, just to show you what I like, so this is my favorite coffee roaster, Fogline, and they have all the same information, but they also put down here in the corner, they show you exactly what the roast level is. It's very easy to see. So that's all I ask, is just label things properly. Not everybody does everything like Fogline does, and that's why Fogline is my favorite coffee roaster. So we'll see if I like this, crossing my fingers. It's good, but I think I'm going to add a little heavy cream to this because that'll kind of balance out that kind of darker roast that I don't like. Oh well, not the worst coffee. It's actually got a nice flavor. I just wish it were a little lighter roasted. I'm happy with the progress I've got on the shelf here. It's enough of a shelf that'll give me an idea about how I want to progress with this. I do want to add a second shelf underneath it, but you know, as far as size and dimensions and all, I just want to take a few days and think that over. I may even make some changes to this shelf. Who knows? You know, we'll just see how it works over the next few days. So I'll do that. The one thing that's kind of glaring at me at the moment is that I need to be a better minimalist. I am not a good minimalist. To give you an example, this bag here is almost all t-shirts. And I don't wear t-shirts anymore, really. So, you know, I could probably get rid of half of the t-shirts in here and free up some space. So, and that's pretty much true with everything. Well, not this bag. This bag is pants, and I kind of need all of those. But yeah, pretty much everything else here, I need to just kind of downsize. So while I'm thinking about next steps with the shelf, I need to get rid of some stuff, toss some stuff out, make some space. Because this is a minivan and it's not going to get any bigger. It's plenty of room for me, but just need to keep in mind I got to get rid of stuff that I don't really need, like t-shirts that I very rarely wear anymore. One other thing I thought of is I do know that people generally don't like open shelves, and I found this out from my last van build. I had a big shelf on the side of the van, kind of the same location, but it was all open, and I had a lot of complaints about that. But you know, if you haven't lived in a small space, you might not think about this. If you've got doors on something in a tiny minivan and the door were to open up, then you have to kind of get out of the way to get into your shelf, and I don't like that. Other people, you know, they put roll-up doors or doors that slide, and to me it's just kind of a waste of space too. I guess if you drive like a crazy person, maybe you need to have stuff behind doors because it would all fall out if you drive like mad, but I drive pretty slow, so this will work just fine for me. But I also just realized from that last shelf that I built, it was overbuilt. It was too big. It was meant for, you know, it was built for more weight than I could actually get on that shelf. So with this, I wanted to just kind of scale it back and minimize it a little bit to just, you know, make it better. And so I do think that this is an improvement over my last shelf. But, you know, just those, it's that thing, you know, you kind of have to keep in mind that it's open because that's the way I want it to be. You know, this is the way I want it to look. Although in my mind, I wanted more of these types of bags, you know, maybe just some black insulated grocery bags because I think they work a little bit better up here. They kind of stand up a little bit better. They're usually a little bit smaller than these are as well, so I could get more bags and kind of get a little bit more organized. So that may be something that changes too in the future. But anyway, those are just some thoughts that I thought I would close out with here. And I'm saying close out because it's time for me to go find a spot to park and take a little nap. I'll finish my coffee first, but I definitely need to take a little nap for a bit. So that's about it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.